Unfortunately, not all of our favorite cars have happy endings. We all have those favorite cars that we enjoy, that we modify, and not all of them last forever. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Unfortunately, that is the hard truth, the nature of the beast. Sometimes our cars over time, they've just seen better days and they've just seen better weather, whether it be an accident or the actual elements themselves. So in this video, we're gonna take a peek underneath this old Foxbody Mustang here, and I'm gonna show you some of the worst spots of, rust, age, and just wear and tear that you've probably never seen before. I'm gonna teach you guys using this car some of the things that you should look for. I mean, there's always rust hiding somewhere or trying to come out. As you guys all know, these cars like to rust at the strut towers. And most of the stuff that you guys see in Foxbody Mustangs rust-wise usually is up top. And I'm gonna point some areas out. I'm gonna take the opportunity on this old 1991 Ford Mustang that I've had for about 15 years. And I'm gonna show you some of the good, bad, and the ugly. So some of this footage may be a little hard to watch, but consider the fact that not one part in this car will be wasted, and unfortunately, it has seen its time. Now, you guys all know that the Foxbody Mustangs are obviously my favorite car to drive. It's my favorite car, car to modify. I definitely, enjoy other vehicles like Grand Nationals and IROC Zs, and I'm just an 80s kid that loves all the old school hot rods. But unfortunately with this car, like you see here, it has seen its time, and we're gonna go through here, kind of like a tribute thing, and I'm gonna show you some of the areas that are real bad on Foxbody Mustangs. When they start to rust or they start to go bad. And we gotta take care of what we got, guys. There's not an unlimited supply of Fox bodies. If you got a Fox body out there that you can fix stuff like this before it gets bad, it's definitely worth doing in this day. So as you can see, I've actually owned this 1991 Mustang GT for about 15 years. I pulled this car in from Michigan. It was one of the first cars that me and Cousin Paul and Cousin Fred decided that we wanted to try to restore at that time. We figured, you know what? We're just gonna put it in the shop. Eventually one day we'll get to it and see how bad it is. And it's got a great running motor, long tube headers, couple mods here and there. Had a really good T5 transmission, shifted really well. The interior wasn't too bad. Over time, the doors started falling off, the bumper started falling off. And maybe I could teach you guys here in the channel some of the things that you might want to look for if you buy a Foxbody Mustang, some of the things that might be going out, because over time, they'll end up like this if they're too rusty. I'm always trying to do how-to videos here on the channel. You got to look for rust underneath here. These fender lips like to rust pretty well. If it's a GT, always got to be watching your rocker. People like to jack cars up right here, and then stuff gets all rotted out and distorted. There's always a good chance that underneath here, this little brace that holds your GT skirt in, is usually probably in that kind of condition, and that's probably why it's sagging. So, this right here, this area right here is probably one of the most common areas that rot out, especially on GTs, especially cars that have sunroofs, which this car has a sunroof. They like to drain here, and these little drain holes get plugged up with sand and dirt and will rot this whole section out. Actually, this whole section's been cut out of my black car because I had the same problem this car had. And as you can see, same thing on both sides. This is pretty common for sunroof cars. Definitely if you got a sunroof car, you need to check this channel and make sure that there's actual little divots here, little cuts that get plugged up with dirt. These are like little drains. You got to make sure this is clean. So as you can see up here, the hatch gets real bad underneath. Now, if you actually look from the top, when I first got this car, that hatch didn't look terrible, but there definitely, this little seam underneath here definitely gets bad really quick. And then it just really kind of, moves down this area here where you can't really see this stuff unless you look under the valence. This is definitely a really bad spot that's hidden that a lot of people can't see. I mean, you can see right here, the little bumper support, this actually, when you get into a rear collision, this actually compresses. This thing is just rust welded right into the frame rail. And these frame rails are hard to see right here. This is pretty much shot. I mean, there's really not much you can, if anything, you can weld to here. It's pretty terrible condition. These springs, all these springs are all pitting, you know, hardcore rust. I mean, this axle's in pretty poor shape. This is the area underneath your Foxbody when you're either buying one or looking at one that you want to take a peek at if you get a chance, because, you know, I've seen a lot of cars where they've been pretty good looking up top and on the side from 10 feet away, and then you get underneath here and you got all this scale starting to really go bad on the car. And even this axle here, I mean, like I said, this axle's pretty much done. I mean, if you tried to weld those tubes and clean this axle up, you might get away with it for a little bit, but you know, this stuff has just been sitting so long, it's just pretty nasty, as you can see. Moving up in here to the torque boxes, I mean, there's literally nothing you can weld to here. I mean, all these seams are going bad. You know, this torque box is falling out. I mean, this is just a bad scenario. This is like worst case scenario. You can't even put floor pans in it because there's nothing to actually weld to that's even solid for the most part. We had to be very careful here on the lift, bringing this car in. I've actually had cars in here that were worse. This is typical northern weather. The Foxbodies in the south, usually in drier areas, don't have to suffer too much from stuff like this. So you guys see, this is pretty gruesome to even watch. I mean, this car's got a lot of really good parts in it. And I'm gonna make sure that no matter what, I'm gonna get as many of the parts as I can out of it. I mean, it wasn't in very good condition when I bought it to begin with. We actually towed this car home on a tow dolly many years ago in one of my first work trucks, back in like 2007 or whatever. And I remember me and cousin Fred actually accidentally bending this fender because the tow dolly actually like jackknifed on me. It was a pretty poor scenario. This car, moving to the front, you can only imagine what's going on up top, but you can see these frame rails are just falling off because the strut tower's just, you know, falling apart. Look how bad that is. It's just not in good condition at all. This is a really good running stock motor, which we'll be able to salvage most of that. You know, again, you know, this is one areas of this Foxbody, you know, that you guys can maybe learn from. These strut towers here, you know, just imploding. And this is pretty typical. You can see that up top. Another problem this car suffers from that you really can't see is the pillar. And you can see that from the door falling off. So basically this whole door and this whole pillar and all the hinges are just basically falling off. It's just like this door just won't even lock anymore. You like these hinges from this door, just everything that this attached to is just missing in that car now. You know, even the floor pans, like I had mentioned, you know, there's really nothing to weld to. I mean, you'd have to do a whole lot of fabrication, which at that point you have to determine whether the car's worth saving or not, unfortunately. I mean, we got to take care of what we got out there, guys. I mean, these are the things that that can happen to these cars, and you know, over time they're just seeing better days. You know, the motor here just rusted, like rusted up bad. You know, the motor mounts, see how bad the T5 plate is. Look how corroded that is. Like, we couldn't even get one of the bolts out. It was just stuck to it. That doesn't mean these car parts are all bad. It just means that you just got to get rid of what's bad and move on. You know what I mean? And these lines, brake lines, fuel lines, just shot. All right, guys. So I wanted to show you, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to our Foxbodies. Like, this is a really good example of what rust can look like and might look like on your Foxbody Mustang one day. This car is what? It's a 91, so this car is what? 1991, what is that? 31 years plus the build year, 32 years old, and it's probably been in the north most of its, if not all of its life. Probably was even driven in the snow, being that there's a Michigan plate on there. It probably was in Michigan most of its life to begin with. I think it got into a front impact at some point. I just felt like in this video that it would be a good idea to show you guys some of the good, bad, and the ugly when it comes to our Foxbody Mustang. You know, I was afraid this thing was going to actually split in half on the lift, but it's solid enough to where I'm not too worried about it. But if you get an opportunity on your Foxbody Mustang that's out there, or any car that you love, you know, try to keep it from getting to this level. You know, take a peek at it. You know, there's things that you can do to rust prevent. There's things that you can do to repair. This is unfortunately just a parts car, which, you know, we'll make sure that we get as much as we can out of the car and make sure that it goes to other Foxbodies that need parts. Pretty good T5 transmission. It's gonna have some good interior pieces, good differential. It's got pretty much a good motor that you could pretty much clean all up, clean all the accessories up, All right, guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's pretty much all I got for you. I wanted to take an example of a car. I've talked about this on our live streams. I talk about this on the channel, you know, keeping the car restored, doing restoration to the car. You know, these are some of the worst case scenarios of what a Foxbody could look like potentially if you let it sit too long. And that's including letting it sit without putting it back together and getting the parts done. So get out there in them garages, get these things off the jack stands so you can shake them down. And I'm not talking about shaking the car parts down, but to make sure the car actually rolls and doesn't rot in its place. If you guys enjoy this sort of video, leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment below, let me know what you guys think. It's pretty much all I got for you for today. If you guys get an opportunity and want to donate back to the channel, check out that join button below, as channel members get the perks to the channel. But outside of that, guys, I just appreciate you watching the video. Sorry I had to bring bad news to the channel, but you know, it's better that we see it, we learn what it's about, instead of just, you know, letting it get wasted in time, and maybe this might help somebody, maybe it won't. Check out those areas, guys. Get those cars off the jack stands. I will see you soon in the next video. Thanks for watching.